Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Core Brands podcast. Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes with me of how I started this podcast. I'm going to be sharing my process, the tools that I use, and I've kept everything so simple that I can manage it alongside my, crazy life as a designer. Before I dive in, I want to give a big shout out to Abby from the Wayfarer Design Studio. I follow Abby for many years now. I'm always super impressed with her work, and she's been an inspiration for me as a business owner and designer. So my podcasting process has been adapted it from her tips and tailored to what works for me. So I just wanted to make sure she gets the credit. So when I started the Core Brands podcast, I knew it needed to fit into my schedule. I didn't want anything, super complicated or high tech. It had to feel kind of like easy and doable alongside client work. Um, so if you're thinking about starting a podcast, this is an example of how you can keep it simple and easy to manage. If you want my tips. So first step is the planning stage. So you need to plan the podcast. And the first thing that I did was to make a list of people that I would like to have as guests. I wanted my podcast, The Core Brands, to be a mix of solo episodes and guest interviews. So this was a key step. Then I started sending invites straight away, even before I have kind of like a framework or anything. But I've created a template for these emails so they were easy to send. I just then personalized them for each different guest. Some people said yes, some people said no. So I think that's also important to mention that, not everything goes as planned. At the same time, I made a list of topics that I wanted to talk about and record on the solo episodes. So this is something to think about if you're starting a podcast. Do you want it to be solo? Do you want it to be guest-based, or maybe a mix of both like me? For me, the mix felt right. It allowed me to share my own thoughts. It's kind of like an outlet, but also I bring different perspectives from different guests. Then the second step, preparing for the guest recordings. So what do I do in there? It's pretty much before the podcast recording day, I send each guest an overview of the topics that I want to cover or questions I might ask. Most of the time, the conversation goes off script, especially for the latest episodes where I'm more comfortable. But I want the guests to feel safe and comfortable, and I don't want to be, that they're feeling that they're off guard. So this is a step that is really important for me and that I like to share with the guests. Then the third step is it's to decide on the frequency of the episodes. So initially I planned to release the episodes every 2 weeks because it felt like a good starting point and I didn't want a big commitment of time as well. But then I just realized that having a 2 week gap between episodes might break the momentum, especially at the beginning when I was trying to build the audience. So I actually ran a poll on Instagram stories and the feedback was clear. People wanted weekly episodes. So I decided to give it a try for now. So I've been recording and editing episodes in advance to keep up with the schedule, and so far it's working. So right now the new episodes drop every Monday at 7 a.m. Then step 4, the tools and equipment that I use. I'm keeping it really simple, as I mentioned before. So I always, no, like for the past year or so, I wanted to buy a better microphone, maybe even for my master classes that I deliver. So I bought a Blue Yeti. It's not overly expensive. I think it was like less than 100 euros and it works perfectly for what I need. Of course, if you want to invest in something really high tech, there's microphones like super expensive and full of all the bells and whistles. But for me, I didn't need anything fancy. And then to plan the podcast topics and managing all the admin side of things, I use Google Docs to brainstorm and organize ideas. I also use Dubsado, which I already use for client projects. So I use Dubsado to send the podcast invitations, podcast emails, the forms, and just to manage the guests in one place. Then the most the most asked question I get is, for the recording, what do I use? So I use Riverside. I didn't spend much time researching alternatives because Riverside is really intuitive, and I also use it for other things like recording short marketing videos, for example. One of the best features for me is the magic clips. So Riverside can automatically pick key moments from a video, like this video, and create short clips, which then I can use for social media, like Instagram and TikTok, etc. And then inside Riverside, you can also edit, but I do the editing on Premiere Pro. I do have an Adobe subscription, and I already knew Premiere Pro, so it feels easier for me. I have a template set, so literally now what I do is when I have new episodes, I just drag and drop and export. So it's pretty much templatey. The step 5, publishing the episode. So once an episode is edited and ready to go, I upload it to Spotify Creators. So Spotify Creators allows me to schedule the episodes in advance, which is great. And then from Spotify Creators, I can also use the RSS functionality to distribute the podcast to other platforms like Apple Podcasts. So it's just super simple and ensures the podcast reaches as many people as possible. I think you can also share from Riverside, but I haven't explored that option yet. So I'm taking more steps, but I'm doing what works for me. So you feel free to have a look. Then step 6, notifying the guests. So if it's a guest episode, I make sure to notify my guest a few days before it goes live. So I'll send them an email with some of those magic clips from Riverside. So key moments from our conversation. The guests can then share those on their social media if they like, and they can tag me or use them however they want. The step has been a great way to involve guests in the promotion of process of the podcast. And it's nice to give them something they can use for their own content as well. So this is pretty much my podcast process in a nutshell. I think I've been under 10 minutes telling you the process. Obviously, it's not as simple. There's more steps within the steps. But yeah, as you can see, it's not a big production. It's simple, straightforward, and it fits my life without too much stress. Most importantly, I'm having so much fun with it. The feedback I've received so far has been amazing, and it's been so rewarding to connect with listeners and guests. My podcast was number 10 the other day on the category entrepreneurship in Ireland, and I just couldn't believe it. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, or if you have questions about my process, let me know. I'll be happy to share more details, or maybe even do a video episode showing you how to use the software and how do I edit the episodes. So yeah, I am very grateful for you for listening in, and I'll see you next Monday for another episode of the Core Brands podcasts. Take care. Bye. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening, and remember, every brand journey starts with a single step. You can find the episode details in the description, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a review, share with your friends, and follow Core Brands Podcast to be notified of new episodes. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating.